How's it going, hockey fans? Hope you're all doing well today. Welcome to the Hockey Stop, your source for all hockey content. We're talking about NHL discussions, opinions, highlights, and just hockey all over the world, and also prospects playing in different minor leagues. And of course, draft coverage as well. We have the upcoming 2020 NHL Draft coming. And before we get into this video, you can see I am a Devils fan. I do have a channel dedicated to Devils hockey. It's called NJD Blog if you're interested in that. But this channel is focused on hockey and NHL as a whole. I'm a big hockey fan in general also, so I just want to make this channel to talk about my opinions on different hockey topics. So 2020 NHL Draft is coming up, and picks 2 to 8 are determined. We know who's picking in those spots, but we don't know the number 1 overall pick yet in terms of who's picking. We know who it's going to be, but we don't know which team's going to pick it because it's going to be one of the play-in round teams that doesn't continue into the playoffs and loses in that round. So we're going to find out who is picking there after they have a second lottery for that first overall pick. But otherwise, we do kind of know who's picking within these first 8 spots. So I want to make a video today, again, on a mock draft for these 8 spots and see which teams will be picking which players. First overall, it's going to be Alexis Lafreniere for Ruski. There's no shot that any other player is going to even question him. I don't see Byfield, I don't see Stutzle even being in the conversation for first overall. This guy is an elite talent. We don't know if he's going to be generational, but he definitely is easily a star franchise winger for sure. He's going to be on that first line within a couple of years on any NHL team, and he's going to be a superstar for many years to come. And this guy really just has it all. He's a very well-rounded player. There's not one element of his game I feel like really sticks out more than any other. He's not, when you watch him skate, he's not going to overwhelm you. He doesn't have quite the skating of Connor McDavid. He doesn't have quite the skating of Matt Barzal, but he's very much an above average skater. In terms of his defense, he's definitely one of the best defensive prospects from a forward that we've seen in a very long time. He's also one of the most intelligent players. His intelligence kind of reminds me of Crosby, and I guess kind of his whole makeup in general kind of reminds me of Crosby. I'm not saying he's as good as Sidney Crosby, but the way that he knows how to place himself when he has the puck, the way that he knows how to skate around players and kind of what to do with it, just the creativity element also is what makes him very successful. Because again, I don't think there's one element of his game that really sticks out. Just like Crosby, these guys aren't the fastest players. They don't have the best shot. They don't have the best defense for a forward, but they're very well rounded. They're very high in all those elements, and they also have a lot of hockey intelligence, which gets them in the perfect places to score goals, to place the puck, for a perfect assist. And I think that's what Lafreniere is. Again, when you watch highlights, you're not going to be crazy overwhelmed, but he is going to be a superstar in this league. And don't mistake his just above average elements everywhere as a player that's going to be just kind of a regular star. No, this guy's going to be a superstar because he's very good in every element. Very good defensively, very good offensively, very good skating. Very good in the way he's shifty around players. And he's also very creative with the puck. He's very intelligent, knows where to be, and overall, right away an NHL player, and right away a very successful NHL player. And I think his transition into the NHL will be very smooth. And whichever team gets this guy, they're very lucky, and this guy is a franchise changer. So Alexis Lafreniere, first overall. Second overall, this is already where the controversy is starting. Some people say Byfield, some people say Stutzle. It's going to be Quinton Byfield in my opinion. Quinton Byfield has been expected to be the second overall pick in this draft for quite a while, for sure, and for good reason too. This guy is a big 6'4" center, and in addition, plays very well in a lot of different elements. He's got a really hard shot, and he can shoot from a lot of different angles. And additionally, he's also a very smart player like Lafreniere, not quite to that level. But when it comes to big centers like him, you don't get that too often. And oftentimes with big centers, you get players that just don't have a high element in a certain way, whether it be, hockey intelligence, usually speed, or just something else. And this guy just kind of plays very well in a lot of different elements. First of all, for a 6'4" frame, he's very fast for that kind of frame. Usually when it comes to those bigger centers, you don't get quite that speed, and he has that speed, and that's what makes him very dangerous as a big center. But additionally, he plays a pretty solid defensive game. He's got a good shot, good playmaking ability, and while he didn't put up quite the numbers in the OHL compared to some of the other prospects, he put 45 games, he put up 82 points, which is fantastic, but they weren't quite the numbers of a Cole Perfetti or a Marco Rossi. But the fact that he's, first of all, a very big center, second of all, plays a very strong defensive game, third of all, very well-rounded in general, and also is pretty speedy, faster than smaller Marco Rossi and smaller Cole Perfetti, despite that bigger frame, is why he is number 2 overall in this draft. And I would expect the LA Kings to choose Quinton Byfield. Pick number 3, owned by the Ottawa Senators, which was the San Jose pick in the Erik Karlsson trade. I expect them to pick Tim Stutzle, and I don't think there's too much debate here. The only debate I really saw with Tim Stutzle was with the elite prospect rankings, where they actually had him at 8th overall. And I'm not talking about a previous, draft ranking from a few months ago. This was actually a very recent one, from this month, and they had Tim Stutzle at number 8, which is pretty shocking. I saw their arguments and I actually disagree with a lot of what they said. A lot of it was just based on, while he is an elite talent, his hockey intelligence isn't quite there, doesn't have the best positioning, and they're making ridiculous claims like it's harder to teach at that point of their hockey careers to teach just the hockey intelligence, just placement and where you got to be versus speed. And that's so wrong. That's not true. A player's speed is pretty much capped around, this NHL draft year. Of course, they can get a little faster in the couple years afterwards, but that's just raw talent that he has. And the intention of developing a young player into the NHL, you're training these players to, gain that NHL intelligence, where you need to be, placement, setting up plays, all of that. That's the point of development. And the point of development isn't to go from slow speed to fast speed and to, increase your hard shot ability. Like, these are raw talent abilities that, place prospects, very high in drafts, because you can't teach everything, Of course, you can make things a little better, but he's got so many great elements to his game, and he does have some deficiencies too, which I'll get to. This guy looks amazing on the ice. He's incredibly dynamic, a fantastic stick handler. He only put up 7 goals in his the top league he was playing in Germany, but he's got a pretty good shot too. He wasn't the most lucky with that, but he's got a hard shot and very dynamic. The way he gets around players, stick handles, he's fantastic. And he looks so dynamic, and he's going to be a special player in the NHL. Now, a lot of the concern for him is, the hockey intelligence isn't quite there. Sometimes he kind of overplays the puck. He's just kind of stick handling too much, trying to be way too fancy with the puck. And in the NHL, it's going to be a lot harder to do that compared to the German league, because of course this is an adult league with a lot of talented players, but the NHL is a whole nother game. So I think he definitely needs to be a little more responsible with the puck. He can't be too flashy all the time. And he needs to be definitely stronger defensively. He needs to put 100% effort every shift. It kind of seems like sometimes when it gets back to the defensive zone especially, he kind of slows down a little bit, doesn't put quite the effort. So there's definitely elements of his game that need to be worked on. And I think if he was a fully well-rounded player, he could definitely be fighting for the 2nd or even 1st overall pick, because he is that good. He has that much raw talent. And I think with a team that properly develops him, he could be a very, very strong superstar in this league for many years to come. 4th overall pick, belonging to the Detroit Red Wings, I think they're selecting Jamie Drysdale. Of course, this is now where the playing field, is very open. It could be a lot of different players, but I think Jamie Drysdale, the top defenseman in this draft, is the go-to player for the Detroit Red Wings. He didn't put up overwhelming numbers in the OHL last season. He put up 47 points, 49 games, pretty respectable, but not overwhelming. I think what makes this guy so special as a defenseman is his incredible skating. And his skating doesn't just serve a purpose to, produce offense, get pucks in the offensive zone. It also, serves a purpose defensively. He's so good in skating down, tracking down players that are coming into their offensive zone, and, just stealing the puck, poke checking. And this guy is a very well-rounded defenseman. He's 5'11", but despite that frame, again, when you see a guy, putting up some decent numbers in the OHL, 5'11", you kind of think, oh, this guy is an offensive defenseman. He's probably not that great defensively, but no, this guy is actually really strong defensively. He can block shots. He can, use his very impressive skating to skate down against other players from the other team, steal the puck, poke check, and play overall a really hard game. And he's got a pretty good shot too. Definitely not the best shot of defenseman even in this draft, but that's not his main focus of the game. He's a great playmaker, fantastic skater. He's incredible coming into the zone as well as, on his own end. And this guy's very good. His skating almost reminds me of Kale McCarr. He's not quite as fast, quite as dynamic, but he's almost at that level. And this is the new NHL, where skating is a very important element, and this guy is just a fantastic skater. Not only speed-wise, but just dynamic, really flashy, gets around players very well, and is really good at just entries into the zone in general. So really like Jamie Drysdale, and I think he could be a great pick at 4th overall. Number 5, Ottawa's 2nd pick. I think they're selecting Marco Rossi, the small center. And he put up ridiculous numbers in the OHL last season. In 56 games, 120 points. Monster season. Absolutely monster. And you would think, well, why is this guy only at 5? There's a couple things. The first thing to consider, Marco Rossi, he is a bit of an overager in this draft. He was almost eligible for this draft, for the 2019 draft. He was just a bit too young. So he's one of the older guys in this draft who's first-year draft eligible. So you consider the numbers that he put the year before when he was almost eligible. He's putting up 65 points in 53 games. Definitely a little more underwhelming, but he was still, producing very well at quite a young age, and he's continued to progress, and that's a really good thing to see. But there's so much more to it than just numbers. At 5'9", what concerns me about him is his skating. He's not the best skater, and when it comes to short forwards, you definitely want to see fast skating, because that's one way small forwards can adapt in today's NHL. Usually, it's really hard for these small forwards to have success in the NHL, and that's why speed's a very important thing. So that's one thing that's tough with. That's one thing that makes it tough to, select him even at 5th overall. But what makes him so impressive is the way he holds on to the puck. You just can't take away the puck from this guy. He's an incredible puck handler. And just with the fact that, you can't steal the puck from him, he's really good at, entering the zone, making plays. And he also has a pretty good shot. He's very well-rounded in that fact that he has both a good shot, a good playmaking ability, and incredible puck handling. Puck handling is this guy's forte. And I think that's why, despite maybe not having the fastest skating ability at a short height, I think those other attributes will definitely make him a really strong NHL player. So I like Marco Rossi at number 5. Number 6, for the Buffalo Sabres, for the Anaheim Ducks, they will be selecting 6th overall. I see them selecting forward winger Lucas Raymond. And this is, I think, a bit of a controversial pick because he didn't produce huge numbers in the SHL last season. There's no denying that. He put up 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points in 33 games. Those are not impressive numbers at all, especially when you consider there's an Alexander Holtz that's still available who put up much bigger numbers, 16 points in 35 games, including a lot more goals. And those numbers are underwhelming, but you have to consider he was given such limited time, under 10 minutes a game in the SHL, and he was kind of getting thrown down to like the 4th line. He just wasn't given much of an opportunity on a good team. So he wasn't given good line mates, and he was given very limited ice time. So of course this guy is going to struggle. But when he was on the ice, he generated chances every single game. And, the 4 goals wasn't impressive, but he didn't take as many shots as he'd want to, but that definitely can be changed. You can teach a player to take more shots, and he took very smart shots, I would say. Plus, he's got a pretty hard release, but of course, this guy's mostly a playmaker and a fantastic skater. Very dynamic for sure, really great at getting around players. I think this guy slips to number 6 because of the underwhelming offense. Of course, this guy has potential, I think, more even than some of the players above him, but he hasn't quite proven it yet, which is why I still put him in a little bit under at 6th overall. Make no mistake, this guy is a fantastic winger. Very dynamic. He fits the NHL mold perfectly. He's smaller for sure, but he's fast, dynamic, great flashy skater, can go in both directions very quickly, and great playmaking ability. And I think he'll be a great fit with the Anaheim Ducks. 7th overall, for the New Jersey Devils, I would say they're selecting Cole Perfetti. And I know a lot of Devils fans would want to see Alexander Holtz on this team over Cole Perfetti, but I just think Cole Perfetti's ceiling is a bit higher, and he's just the more well-rounded player, even though Alexander Holtz does have the better shot. But we'll get to Alexander Holtz. Cole Perfetti also dominated the OHL last season, putting up a remarkable 111 points in 61 games. And, this guy is very well-rounded, pretty good shot, but definitely more of a playmaker for sure, which the Devils don't really quite need as much. But again, I think you have to go for the best available player when it comes to NHL drafts. And, like Marco Rossi, who gets selected earlier, this guy doesn't have the best skating ability, which again, at 5'10", smaller player, it's a little bit more frustrating because you want to see these players, have speed, especially at such a high overall, because that's what really makes small players successful oftentimes in the NHL. But this guy does have a lot of talent too in some areas of his game. He's not quite the level of Marco Rossi. I don't think he doesn't have quite the puck handling ability. I think, he's got just about as good of a playmaking ability, and he also has a pretty good shot. I think he's just a bit of a step lower from Marco Rossi, and the extra inch of height doesn't make a huge difference for me because they're very similar players, I would say. I think, yeah, pretty similar to Marco Rossi, just a bit of a step down, not quite as good of a puck handler, probably just about as good as a playmaker as anyone. And he's got also a pretty good shot himself, 37 goals in 61 games in the OHL. He did it 2 seasons in a row with the same amount of goals. That's not bad. And overall, I think he'd be a good fit for the Devils. 8th overall for the Buffalo Sabres, I have them selecting Alexander Holtz. And this guy definitely could go higher, I could say. But at the same time, and of course, I think this would be a fantastic pick for the Buffalo Sabres. This guy could maybe go up, to top 5, 6, 7. Again, everything is really, out of order. But I think just based on the huge talent of those top 7, it's a very deep draft. It's hard to kind of move around, see where players are getting picked where. But Alexander Holtz at 8 is still, number 8th overall in this draft is still very good. And this guy is considered potentially the best shot in the draft. This guy has an incredible shot. 9 goals in 35 games in the SHL doesn't sound that great, but he was given a much bigger role compared to Lucas Raymond in the SHL. But he still wasn't given the biggest role. He was playing on the second line at some points, but also was getting moved down a little bit. And wasn't always given the most ice time. He was given more for sure, but definitely not the most. So 9 goals, and he definitely wasn't lucky either because he was taking a lot of shots. So he definitely could have had more than 9 goals. But this guy is a goal scorer. And when he was younger, like with the Super Elite League, the previous season, 30 goals in 38 games. And that's an adult league also, just at a step lower for sure. And also I think that was actually an under 20 league. But again, mostly like 19, 20-year-olds, he was playing there at 16 the season before, putting up 30 goals in 38 games. This guy knows how to score goals. He has a very hard shot, very accurate shot, and he's really good at continuing to skate while taking the shot, which is very impressive. And you don't see that from a lot of prospects. He can continue skating, doesn't have to stop, doesn't have to wait for someone to play it to him. He can just take a very accurate shot while he's moving at a high speed. And that's what makes this shot especially impressive and especially effective. And I think he'll absolutely be a success story in the NHL. And yeah, I think this guy honestly could even be like a steal at 8th overall if this guy really pans out to his potential, because this guy could be a 40 goal scorer in the NHL, maybe even a little more than that in his prime if he hits that ceiling. This guy has a really high ceiling, and great finisher and pretty well-rounded player too. He doesn't really make too much mistakes on the ice, and I think any team that acquires Alexander Holtz would be very happy to have him. So that's my top 8. I know some fans might be kind of annoyed about not seeing maybe a Jake Sanderson or an Askarov on this draft list. I think those guys are a little more like 9 to 10 to maybe even a little bit later in the draft. I think the 8 players that I said are going to be the top 8 in potentially a different order. I just don't... With Jake Sanderson, I feel like he's a very responsible defenseman, but he is very slow on the puck. And, NHL is a very fast league. He'll make he's pretty accurate with his passes, and he's got an all right shot, but he's just very slow with the puck, and he just kind of seems like he's going in slow motion, a little laggy, and it takes him a little extra time to figure out what he's going to do. So that processor in his head needs to speed up, I think, for him to be, in the top 8 in this draft. With Askarov, fantastic goaltender for Russia, and, one of the best goalie prospects in a long time in the draft. But with goalies, it's very risky. 18-year-old goalies can have a lot of success in their first couple years, but they can struggle with consistency. And that's why it's very dangerous to select a goalie so early in a draft, because they're much more unpredictable than defensemen and forwards. Defensemen and forwards towards the top of the draft usually will be very successful. Goalies, they can be, but they also might not be. And I think it's just based on the risk factor, because you don't know how he's going to continue to develop at such a young age. It's too risky to select him in the top 8, but he's a fantastic prospect, and whichever team gets him, will definitely get a fantastic prospect who could very well be a very good goaltender in the NHL. So those are my prospect rankings. Let me know in the comments below if you agree, disagree. Let me know your comments, your discussion. I'll definitely look at all the comments, respond. And yeah, so first video on NHL Stop. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate all the fans that watched till the end of this video. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. What should my outro be? I always say let's go Devils for my Devils channel, but for NHL, let's go hockey.